Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Eunice. In this video, I'm going to be showing us how I made this beautiful, simple Victorian corset top. I hope this is something you would like to learn. If this is it, make sure to keep on watching till the end. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, kindly click on the subscribe button to subscribe and ensure to put on your notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. So let's get right into the video. I'll be drafting on this pattern paper. So the first thing I went ahead to do is to draw the starting line, which is going to serve as the shoulder line. Next, I'm going to go ahead and create a box. We're going to draft our front and back pattern on this pattern paper. So to determine the width of the box to draft this front and back pattern, I'm going to divide the biggest measurement I'm working with by 2, and that is 40 inches, which is the upper hip measurement. So when you divide 40 by 2, that will give you 20. I'll add 2 inches to that measurement, and that's going to be a total of 22 inches. So 22 inches is going to be the width of my box. Then next, I went ahead to draw a border line. This border line I drew here is serving as my center front line. So from the border line here, I'm going ahead to measure 22 inches, which is the width of my box. Okay, so I'll go ahead and connect the points, and now we have the width of our box of 22 inches. And then next I'll get the midpoint of this box, which is going to be 11 inches. I'll mark 11 inches and draw a demarcation line so that we can now have our front separate and our back separate as well. Okay, so after drawing the demarcation line, now I'm going to label this side center front, that's CF, and this is going to be our center back here. So then the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the chest line. This is me entering all our vertical measurements now. So placing my tape from the shoulder line, I'm going to mark the chest line. And to get the chest line, divide your bust circumference by 6 plus 2.5, you will have your chest line. Take note of where I'm placing my tape from. I'm placing it from the shoulder line, which is the starting line. So I'll go ahead and mark the chest line, mark the bust point line, that's from shoulder to nipple, and then next I'll mark the under bust line, and then the half length, which is the waistline, and then the next thing I'm going to mark is the full length of the top. And to know the length of your corset top, all you need to do is to add between 5 to 6 inches to the half length. For me, the half length of my client is 17 inches. So plus 5 inches, that will give me 22 inches. Plus 6 inches, that will give me 23 inches. I decided to use 23 inches because my client has a big tummy. So that is why I'm using 3 inches. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that the shorter your corset length is, the better. I made this a bit longer. I added that 6 inches because this is going to be a top and a skirt. I hope we understand that. So right now I'm going ahead to label my lines. The first line is the chest line, the second is the bust point, the third the under bust, the waist, and then the full length of the top. Next, on the shoulder line, I'm going to mark half of the shoulder measurement, and half of the shoulder measurement is 7.5. Mark 7.5 on this line. Take note of how I placed my tape. I placed it from the center front line, and I've marked my 7.5. So at this 7.5 mark I have here, I'll come down by 1.5 inches for our front shoulder slant, and then I'll mark a neck width of 3 inches. So from this 3 inches mark I have here, I'm going to connect it to 1.5 inches, which is the front shoulder slant. And then here on the chest line, I'm going to mark half of the shoulder measurement as well on this line, which is 7.5. And then I'm going to use my straight ruler to connect it to the shoulder slant, just like this. And you see? So here, this is what we have. So the next thing to do is to curve the armhole. So I'll place my tape from the chest line and I'll go up by 3 inches from the chest line. I'll mark it here. And at that 3 inches mark, I'm marking 3/4 inch inwards. I'll connect this 3/4 inch inwards to the shoulder tip, just to the shoulder slant like this. Then on the chest line, I'm going to enter quarter of the bust measurement. The bust divided by 4 is 10 inches. I'll mark 10 inches at that point. And then I'm going to curve the armhole to meet the 10 inches mark I have on the chest line. So this is what our front armhole looks like. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to enter the nipple to nipple measurement. And half of the nipple to nipple measurement is what I'm going to mark here, and that's 4 inches. I'll mark it on the bust line, the waistline, the under bust line, and then up to the full length of the top. Then I'll go ahead and use my straight ruler to connect the points like this. Okay, after drawing the nipple to nipple line, I'm going to mark 1 inch on both sides of this line on the waistline. This is for our waist dart. And then I'll connect this 1 inch mark to the bust point like this. And I'll repeat the same thing on the other side. And then on the full length of the blouse, I'm going to come up by 1 inch. The length of this blouse is 23 inches and our dart is supposed to stop at 22 inches. So I went up by 1 inch and then I'll connect the waist dart to that 1 inch mark I have there. So now this is what our front waist dart looks like. So having done that, the next thing I'm going to do now is to enter our horizontal measurements. So the bust divided by 4 is 10 inches. I marked it on the bust line. Then on the waistline, the waist divided by 4, I marked it there and I replaced back my waist dart of 2 inches because I have 1 inch on both sides. Okay. So here on the full length, I marked quarter of the hip measurement as well at that point. So I'm just going ahead to connect it. Take note that I skipped the underbust line. I skipped the underbust line. We're going to now tighten the underbust. So I'm going to use a different color of pen to just mark it so that we understand that this is where our side stops, okay? So having done that, so now it's time for us to tighten the underbust. So on the underbust line, I'm going to enter the underbust measurement divided by 4, which is 8 inches because the round underbust is 32 inches. So I'll mark at 8 inches here. And then I'm going to measure what I have left on that underbust line and I have 2 inches. I'll be using that 2 inches to tighten the underbust. And in this case, at the center front, that's at the middle part here, I'm going to mark 3/4 of an inch on this side. Take note of how I'm placing my tape. I'm placing it after the dart leg. So I mark 3/4 of an inch on the center side. And then here at the side front, I'm going to mark the remaining 1¼ inch. So that's a total of 2 inches. So I'm using that 2 inches to tighten the underbust. At the center, I entered 3/4 of an inch, and on the side, I entered 1.25 inches. I hope you understand that. So you can decide to make this side 1/2 inch and then the other side 1.5. That's fine. So I connected the dart from the waistline to that 3/4 of an inch at the center front, and then I'm doing the same thing at the side front. I connected the dart on the waistline to the 1¼ inch. So now I'm placing my armhole curve. I'll connect it to the bust point. I'll repeat the same thing on this side. Can you see my curve placement? So right now we have successfully tightened our under bust. So the next thing we want to do now is to get the over bust line. And to get the over bust line, I'm going to measure the distance I have from the bust point to the under bust point, and that is 3 inches. So you can add 1/2 inch to that measurement so that the over bust covers up well. Okay, so now this is it. From the bust point line, I will go up by 3.5 inches. Remember the distance I got from the bust point to the underbust, I got 3 inches. So I added half inch to that measurement to give me the overbust line. And this is my overbust line now. Okay, I'm just going to label this line OB. So now to tighten the overbust, I'm going to measure what I have from the neck width to the shoulder tip here, and I have 5 inches. So I'll get the midpoint of 5 inches, and that will be 2.5. So this is me doing our shoulder dart, and I've marked this point, which is the middle line, the midpoint of the shoulder slant. And then I'll go ahead and connect from this midpoint to the nipple point. Can you see? I'm using a different color of pen so that we can see it. So now I've connected it. Now to tighten the overbust. On this center side, this is center front, I'll mark half inch on this side, and again on the other side I'll mark the same half inch, so which is a total of 1 inch for our overbust tightening. So I'll bring in my armhole curve using the part that is not too curvy. I'll connect from the bust point to the overbust. I'll repeat the same thing on the other side. So here we are, we have tightened our overbust. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to mark the bust dart. And the bust dart is the difference between the front half length and the back half length. We know that our front half length and our back half length are not the same because we have our breast in front. And for my client, the front half length is 17 inches while the back half length is 15.5 inches. So which is a difference of 1.5. Okay. So here on the bust line, I'm going to mark that 1.5 on the bust point line. That's from the bust point line that will come down by 1.5, and then I'll connect it to the nipple to nipple line. So this is our bust dart here at the side. Can you see? So I'll get the midpoint of this line. I'll get the midpoint of this line and then create a triangular shape just to show that there's a dart around there. Okay, by the time we close the bust dart, we'll understand why we are creating this triangle shape. This is to avoid any shortage by the time we close the bust dart. Can you see? So this angle I have here is just to indicate that there's a dart here. Okay, so that's it. So the next thing we'll be doing is to create our yoke, and this yoke is going to be a scallop yoke. It's going to be a V neck scallop yoke. So to create this scallop yoke, I'm going to measure from the center front on the shoulder line. I'll go in by 4 inches. So which means I'm increasing the neck width to 4 inches. Remember it was 3 inches. So here also on the overbust line, I placed my tape from the center front and I came in by 1 inch. So I'm going to use my straight ruler to connect from the shoulder line, which is 4 inches. They are connected to the 1 inch on the overbust line. So now this is what our front neckline is going to look like. You can see it's a V with edge, like a bridge at the center front. I hope you understand that. So this is it. So now we have two pieces. You can see we have our center front and our side front. So this depends on your preference. If you want to have several panels, you can create it now. But the more panels you have, the more boning lines you will have. So here I want to have the center front and then two side pieces. So on the underbust line, I got the midpoint of the underbust line. So I'm going to be drawing a line there so that I can have three pieces, which is one is going to be the center front, one will be the middle side front, and then the side front. So I got the demarcation line, that's I got the midpoint of the underbust line, and I used my curved ruler to connect it like this. It doesn't necessarily have to be straight, okay? So here is my C1, then this is middle side front, and then this is our side front. This is just me labeling them so that we know which is which. So I already said that this is the center front, middle side front, and then side front. So you can see we have three pieces. So right now we can go over to the back and draft the back. So to draft the back from the shoulder line, I'm going to mark the chest line. Placing my tape from the shoulder line, I marked the chest line, which is 9 inches. Next, I'm going to mark the back half length, which is the waistline. And the back half length is 15.5 inches. Remember, I said that the front half length is 17 inches, which is a difference of 1.5 between the front and the back. So I'm marking on 15.5 inches. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the top length. So the top length at the back is also going to be shorter than the front with the same 1.5 inches, so that by the time we close our darts, they will all match up. So the front length of the top is 23 inches. So minus 1.5, that's going to leave us with 21.5. So I'm going to straighten out our lines. So right now we have the back chest line, we have the waistline. I'll label it chest line, waistline, and then the top length. Okay, so having done that, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark half of the shoulder measurement. So from the center back, I'm going to mark half of the shoulder measurement, which is 7.5 inches. So here's our 7.5 inches. And then I'll come down by 1 inch at that point, 1 inch to create the shoulder slant. And then I'll place my tape from the center front and mark 3 inches to connect. And then I'll go ahead and connect the shoulder slant like this. So now we have our back shoulder slant. Here on the chest line, I'm also going to enter half of the shoulder measurement, which is 7.5. Then I'll use my straight ruler to connect from the shoulder to the chest line. So this is now our back armhole. So to curve the armhole, I'm going to get the midpoint of the armhole by placing my tape like this and folding it into two. So this is the midpoint. At the midpoint here, I'll go in by half of an inch, and then I'll connect this half inch to the shoulder tip. And then to curve it to the chest line, I'm going to get quarter of the chest measurement, or the bust measurement rather. So I marked quarter of the bust measurement on the chest line, and then I'll curve the armhole to meet that measurement. So now this is now our back armhole. Can you see that? So having done that, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the nipple to nipple measurement at the back, which is at the waistline. So from the center back, I mark the nipple to nipple measurement, and I mark the same thing on the hip, on the full length of the top, and still on the chest line. I'll go ahead and connect with my straight ruler, and then I'm going to do a dart intake of 2 inches on the waistline, just like I did for the front. So I'll mark 1 inch to the left and 1 inch to the right here. So now, having done that, I'm going to connect my dart to the chest line. So to connect to the chest line, I came down by half of an inch, and then I'll connect my darts like this. So I came down by half inch from the chest line, and then I'm connecting my dart. And then here, I'll connect the dart to the top length. So right now we have our back waist dart. So the next thing we're going to do now is to enter all our measurements. So here on the waistline, I'm going to enter a quarter of the waist measurement plus 2 inches for my dart intake. So I'll add that 2 inches, I'll replace the 2 inches back. Then here on the full length, I'm going to enter the hip measurement divided by 4. And then this is the chest line, the bust measurement divided by 4 as well. So I'll connect it like this so you can see this is it. So the next thing I'll be doing is the center back tightening. And to tighten the center back, I'm going to place my tape on the waistline. From the center back, I came in by half of an inch. And then I'll connect this half inch to the hip line like this, just slant it to the hip line. And then I'll also slant it upwards to the chest line like this. So this half inch is going to be tightened to tighten our back. So this is more like taking out our zipper bulge. But this outfit is going to have lacing at the back. It's going to have eyelets. Next, I went ahead to mark the neck width of 4 inches. And then here, I'll be connecting the neck width of 4 inches to the chest line here. So from the center back, I'm going to come in by 3.5 inches. And then I'll connect it to the 4 inches mark I have here. and this will be our back neckline. This is it. And then that side we're cutting out this side, so this is now going to be our back yoke. Okay, and then I went ahead to label the front also, front yoke. So having done this, the next thing we're going to do now is to create the opening we're going to have at the back for our lacing. That's where we're going to have our eyelets. So to do that, I'm going to come in by 1.5 inches from this point, this on the chest line, 1.5 inches. And then on the waistline, I came in by 1.5 inches. And I'm doing the same thing on the hip line. So I'll connect the points like this. So using my straight ruler, I'm going to connect the points like this. And you see? And then this is it. So we'll be cutting out this part. And you see, I'm just marking it off to show that we're going to cut out this part. So this is the part where we're going to have our eyelets sitting so that the back can be laced and it will give that nice fit at the back. Okay? Just like the front, I'll also have three panels at the back. So I placed my tape from the dart leg to the side on the waistline and I got the midpoint. So this is me just going ahead to use my ruler to draw a line there. So now this is our center back piece. These are side back piece. And then this is our side piece. So you can just label it 1, 2, 3 or center back, middle side back, and then side back. And that's that. Coming back to the front, we need to replace the overbust dart, which is 1 inch. So here at the armhole, I'll come out by 1 inch. You want to make sure to replace this dart. If you don't replace the dart, by the time you cut out the dart, you're going to have a shortage and the yoke will be wider than the upper part, which is a problem. So you want to make sure to replace this dart. Having marked my 1 inch at the side, I'm going to connect it to the armhole. So now this is going to be the new armhole for the bustier area. Meanwhile, for the yoke, I'll be maintaining the actual armhole. I hope we understand. So you can see that it's only the down part of the yoke. Sorry, it's only the down part of the bustier that the armhole extended outwards. Meanwhile, the yoke is maintaining the actual armhole. So by the time we cut out our darts, we'll understand why this is there. This will just bring it back to where it should be. So at the hem of our top, I want to have a stylish curve at that hem. I don't want it to be straight. So what I did was to go up on the dart leg at the dart line, which is the nipple to nipple line. I went up by 1 inch and I'm using my curved ruler to connect it to the center front. So and from this side, I'm also going to create a curve to connect to the front side piece. Can you see the shape I want to have? Just a simple shape. So feel free to give it any shape you want to have at the hem. This is what I want to have in this case. Just using my armhole curve to give it that nice shape, and this is it. So right now we are done with our drafting. I'll bring in my scissors so that we can cut out our patterns. Okay. So after cutting out our front patterns, now close the bust dart. So to close the bust dart, this is the line here. I'm just going to place it over the bust point line. Can you see what I did? I just closed it up. And by closing it up, you can see that the point has shifted. So that's the essence of the excess I have here at the side so that I can blend in the point when it shifts. So all I need to do now is to blend it in. So you can see I also blended the center, that's the middle side front, okay? And you can see right now I'm cutting out my pattern. I cut on the new armhole. Can you see? I cut on the new armhole. I made sure to maintain the new armhole, not the original armhole. This is because of the dart we replaced there. And then I'm going ahead to separate the panels. So now we now have our three front panels. And this is what our front pieces looks like. So we'll go over to the back. So for the hem of the top at the back, I also want to have a curve at that point. You can see I just came down by half of an inch and then I created this curve just to give it that nice curve at the back. So this is optional. You can leave it straight if you want it straight, but I don't want the back straight. So this is me going ahead to cut out our back patterns. This is our back yoke. And see, I've separated the back yoke, and then we'll cut at the side, cut out the excess that is not our measurement, and then I'm following the curve shape I created. You see, we'll cut out this part. So now we're going to cut out this part. Of course, this part we'll have to throw it away because we're going to have an opening at the back. So this is now our back pieces. So now take note of what it looks like. You'll notice that the down and the up, they all look alike. So I went ahead to label the upper part so that you don't mistakenly interchange them. So I'm going ahead to cut out the darts. Can you see? And I've separated them. So this is our dart is out, and then I'll separate the middle back piece from the side back piece. So this is what our back patterns looks like. And you see, everything is ready. We are done drafting our pattern, and this is what we have. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer to fabric, and that will be in my next video that will show us how to join our pieces. And so that means that the next video is going to be a sewing video. I hope you learned something from this video and you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure to like this video, share this video with your friends, and most importantly, click on the subscribe button to subscribe, and ensure to put on your notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.